There was a time when you were right there, offering everything of value you had. You were gold, reliable, genuine, loving, and worth more than they could ever imagine. But they didn't see it. They took you for granted, walked away, or let you slip through their fingers. Maybe they thought they could do better or that they could find something easier. Maybe they believed there was something else out there that would satisfy them. Whatever the reason, they walked away from gold. Now, look at them. They're chasing dust. They're scrambling for something that doesn't compare to what they had with you. They're pursuing temporary pleasures, shallow distractions, and empty promises, while you, the gold they once rejected, are shining brighter than ever. It's not about revenge. It's not about gloating. It's about understanding your worth. You were never meant to chase after people who couldn't see your value. You were meant for more than that. And now, as you rise and evolve, they're stuck with their choices. They walked away from gold, thinking they could find something better. Now, as they chase after dust, they'll realize that what they had was priceless. And by the time they understand, it will be too late. You know your worth. And as you continue to grow, they'll be left to wonder why they ever let you go. There are people in life who will doubt you, criticize you, or even try to bring you down. They'll question your goals, make fun of your dreams, and scoff at the hard work you put in. They think you're not capable of achieving what you're striving for. They believe their opinions, their judgments have some power over your future. But here's the truth. You don't need to prove anything to them. You don't need to explain your worth or validate your dreams to anyone. Because the best way to humble those who doubt you is not through words, but through action. Let your wins speak for themselves. When you achieve what they thought was impossible, when you reach heights they never thought you'd reach, let that be your message. Let that be the moment when they realize they were wrong about you. They don't need to hear you say, "I told you so." They'll see it in your success. They'll see it in your growth. Every accomplishment, every milestone, every victory you achieve will remind them of what they once underestimated. It's not about rubbing it in their faces. It's about the quiet strength of knowing that your success is the greatest response to their doubt. Their egos may have led them to believe they knew better, that they could predict your future, but your wins will make them question their own assumptions. They'll be humbled not by your words, but by the undeniable proof of your progress, your resilience, and your success. As you rise, remember this. You don't have to prove your worth to anyone. You don't need their approval or validation. Your wins are enough. They'll speak volumes without you saying a word. So let them watch as you succeed. Let them watch as you achieve what they once thought was out of reach. And as you do, let your success humble their ego in the most powerful way possible. There's power in silence. You don't owe anyone an explanation for the choices you make, the path you walk, or the dreams you chase. People will always try to question you, doubt your decisions, and ask why you're doing what you're doing. They'll want to know why you've chosen this route, why you're so determined, or why you're moving forward without their approval. But here's the truth. You don't have to explain yourself. When you're walking in your purpose, some people will never understand. They'll ask questions, but they'll never fully comprehend the why behind your actions. And that's okay. You're not living to satisfy their curiosity or to make them comfortable. Your journey is yours, and yours alone. Instead of explaining yourself, let your actions do the talking. Let your success speak louder than words ever could. Every time you try to explain, you give away your power. You waste energy trying to convince people who aren't truly interested in understanding your vision. Why should you break it down for those who don't even have the capacity to appreciate what you're doing? So let them watch in silence. Let them see you thrive. Let them witness your growth and achievements. Your journey doesn't need their approval. The people who truly care about you will respect your decisions without needing an explanation. And those who don't, they'll be left wondering, silently watching as you continue to rise. So don't feel the need to explain yourself. Let your success speak for you. Let them watch in silence, and let your actions say everything they'll ever need to know. Your silence is not empty, it's not a void. It's a statement, a declaration, a boundary. When you choose silence over anger, you're not giving up. You're rising above. You're showing them that their words, their actions, their chaos doesn't have power over you. And that breaks them in ways anger never could. Think about it. Anger is loud, it's reactive, it's explosive, and when you respond with anger, you give them exactly what they want, a reaction. You validate their behavior, you give them control. But silence? Silence is different. Silence is calm. Silence is controlled. Silence says, I see you, but you're not worth my energy. And that is devastating to someone who thrives on drama. When you choose silence, you take away their power, you take away their ability to manipulate, to provoke, to control. You show them that you're unshaken, that you're unmoved, that you're operating on a level they can't reach. And that realization, that's what breaks them. Silence is not weakness, it's strength. It's the strength to walk away, the strength to let go, the strength to protect your peace. And when you do that, you win. Not because you've defeated them, but because you've refused to let them defeat you. So the next time someone tries to pull you into their chaos, remember this. You don't have to respond. You don't have to engage. You don't have to prove anything. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say nothing at all. Let your silence speak for you. Let it be the boundary they can't cross. Let it be the armor that protects your peace. Your silence will break them in ways anger never could. Not because you're trying to hurt them, but because you're refusing to let them hurt you. Now go out there and let your silence do the talking. Your kindness was not a sign of weakness. People will mistake your kindness for weakness. They will assume that because you are patient, you will always tolerate their disrespect. Because you are forgiving, they can continue to hurt you without consequence. Because you are understanding, they can take advantage of your generosity. But what they fail to realize is that your kindness is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of strength. It takes strength to be kind in a world that is often cruel. It takes strength to keep giving even when people don't appreciate it. It takes strength to choose love over hate, patience over anger, and compassion over revenge. Weak people don't do that. Weak people lash out, weak people hold grudges, weak people take the easy road of selfishness and bitterness. But you chose to be different. And yet, there were moments when you questioned yourself. You wondered if you were too nice, too forgiving, too willing to see the good in others, because no matter how much you gave, some people only took. No matter how much you cared, some people only used you. And at times it felt like being kind was a curse, like it only led to disappointment and heartbreak. But here's what you need to understand. Your kindness was never the problem. Their inability to value it was. The way people treat you is a reflection of who they are, not of who you are. Just because someone didn't appreciate you doesn't mean you should stop being a good person. You do not need to become cold to protect yourself. You just need to be wiser about who you give your warmth to. At some point, the people who took you for granted will realize their mistake. They will see that the kindness they mistook for weakness was actually a rare and powerful gift. They will remember the way you stood by them, the way you uplifted them, the way you never gave up on them, even when they didn't deserve it. And by the time they realize it, you will have already moved on. So don't regret being kind. Don't regret being the person who cared. You are rare and the world needs more of your light. But just remember this. Being kind doesn't mean being a doormat. Being kind doesn't mean tolerating mistreatment. Being kind doesn't mean allowing people to walk all over you. Kindness and self-respect go hand in hand. There comes a point in life when you realize that some people never truly appreciated you. They took your kindness for weakness, your patience for permission, and your presence for granted. You gave them your time, your energy, your loyalty, but instead of valuing you, they treated you like an option, assuming you would always be there. But that's about to change. Because one day, you stop chasing, you stop over-explaining, you stop begging for the respect, love, and appreciation you should have never had to ask for in the first place. And when that day comes, when you finally walk away, when you shift your focus back to yourself and your growth, that's the moment they realize what they lost. But by then, it's too late. The truth is, people don't always recognize what they have when they have it. They assume you'll always be there, always understanding, always forgiving, no matter how much they ignore you, disrespect you, or make you feel unseen. They get comfortable. They start believing that no matter how they treat you, you won't leave. And as long as you continue to tolerate it, they have no reason to change. But when you decide to walk away, not out of anger, not to prove a point, but because you finally understand your worth, everything shifts. The absence of your presence speaks louder than your words ever could. The energy, the love, the care that you once poured into them is now being directed toward yourself, and that's when they start to notice. That's when regret sets in. They will look for you in the people they meet. They will replay old conversations in their mind. They will wonder why they didn't appreciate you when they had the chance. And suddenly, all the things they once overlooked, the way you listened, the way you cared, the way you stood by them, become painfully clear. But by then, you're already gone. This isn't about revenge. This isn't about making them suffer. This is about self-respect. This is about recognizing that you should never have to beg for love, attention, or respect. The right people will never make you feel like an afterthought. The right people will never make you question your worth. And the moment you realize this, you stop settling. So if you've been feeling unappreciated, if you've been pouring into people who only take from you, if you've been tolerating less than you deserve, it's time to step back. Not to punish them, not to teach them a lesson, but because you deserve better. And when you do, when you shift your energy and start valuing yourself the way they never did, they will feel your absence in ways they never imagined. But by then, it won't even matter, because you'll have already moved on. You'll be thriving, growing, and stepping into a life where you are surrounded by people who see your worth. Not just when you leave, but while you're still there. In life, There will always be people who try to provoke you, challenge you, or test your limits. Some will do it intentionally, others without realizing it, but the result is the same. They want to see you react. They want to see you lose your cool, to raise your voice, to defend yourself. They want to draw you into their drama, into their chaos. But here's the powerful truth. The less you react, the more they suffer. When you refuse to engage in their game, you take away their power. You stop them from controlling your emotions. You refuse to let them dictate how you feel, and that drives them crazy. Why? Because when people can no longer provoke you, they lose their control over you. Think about it. The more you respond, whether with anger, frustration, or even defensiveness, the more you give them exactly what they want. You give them your energy. You give them your time. You let them pull you out of your peace and into their chaos. And every time you react, you're feeding the fire. But the moment you choose to stay calm, stay composed, and remain silent, that's when everything changes. When they try to provoke you and you don't react, you show them that they have no power over you. You're unshaken. You've learned that you don't need to give an explanation or waste your energy on people who are trying to bring you down. You don't owe anyone your reaction. In fact, your silence becomes more powerful than any response you could give. It confuses them. It unsettles them. They're waiting for you to snap, to get defensive, to argue back. But when you refuse to give them that, when you remain composed and focused on your peace, they're left with nothing. The less you react, the more they are forced to face themselves. They begin to realize that their tactics don't work on you anymore. And while you remain calm and collected, they're the ones who start to feel uncomfortable. They'll start questioning themselves. Why didn't you react? Why didn't you fall into their trap? But you know something they don't. Their negativity has no power over you. Their attempt to control your emotions has failed, and that is the greatest punishment for them. The more they push, the more you remain unmoved. They will eventually realize that their words, their actions, have no effect on you, and that's when they start to suffer. In the end, it's not about them. It's about you. It's about protecting your peace, maintaining your composure, and not allowing anyone to steal your joy. By refusing to react, you remain in control. You control your emotions, you control your energy, you control your peace. And when you choose to not engage with negativity, you win. They lose. They're left frustrated, confused, and powerless. And you remain strong, calm, and focused on what truly matters. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, remember, the less you react, the more they suffer. Their attempts will not shake you. Their negativity will not break you, and your peace, it will remain untouched. Let me ask you this. How many times have you replayed someone's disrespect in your mind, searching for answers, wondering what you could have done differently? It's exhausting, isn't it? That feeling of betrayal, of being undervalued, it lingers, pulling you into a cycle of overthinking and self-doubt. But today, I want you to hear this loud and clear. That disrespect should be your closure. You don't need a heartfelt apology, a long-winded explanation, or a moment of recognition from them to move on. Their actions, the way they treated you, are all the closure you need. Think about it. When someone disrespects you, they're showing you exactly who they are. It's not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their character, and yet so often we stay stuck waiting for something that will never come. A change of heart, a moment of accountability, or even just a shred of remorse. But here's the truth. You don't need any of that. Their disrespect was the moment you needed to wake up to see the situation for what it truly is, and to walk away with your dignity intact. Imagine this. You're holding onto a broken rope, and the more you cling to it, the deeper the cuts in your hands. That's what holding onto disrespect feels like. It hurts, it drains you, and it keeps you tied to someone who doesn't deserve your energy. But when you let go, when you decide that their disrespect is the end of the story, you free yourself. You stop waiting for closure from someone who isn't capable of giving it, and you start creating your own. Here's what I want you to remember. Closure isn't something you get from someone else, it's something you give yourself. It's the moment you say, I deserve better, and I refuse to settle for less. When you embrace this mindset, everything changes. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't listen. You stop defending your worth to those who don't value it. And most importantly, you stop allowing disrespect to take up space in your life. Instead, you channel that energy into growth. You focus on your peace, your happiness, and your future. And let me tell you, there's nothing more powerful than someone who chooses themselves over the chaos others bring. Because here's what happens when you let their disrespect be your closure. You rise, you heal, and you move forward with a strength they'll never understand. While they stay stuck in their patterns, you're out there building a life that reflects your worth, a life filled with respect, love, and fulfillment. So the next time someone disrespects you, don't beg for an explanation. Don't wait for an apology. Take it as a sign, a gift even, that it's time to close that chapter and start a new one. Let their actions be the period at the end of the sentence, not a comma that keeps you lingering in uncertainty. You deserve people who uplift you, who see your value, and who treat you with the respect you give so freely. And if someone can't do that, let them go. Because in the end, their disrespect isn't your burden to carry, it's your reason to move on. And in moving on, you reclaim your power, your peace, and your purpose. So let that disrespect be your closure. Walk away with your head held high, knowing you've chosen yourself. And as you move forward, remember this: you are worthy of so much more than they ever gave. Choose to believe it, choose to live it, and never look back. Let me ask you something. Have you ever found yourself stuck in a never-ending cycle of arguments, explanations, and trying to prove your worth to someone who just doesn't get it? It's draining, isn't it? It feels like shouting into a void, hoping for a response that never comes. But here's the truth. You don't need to go back and forth. You don't need to explain yourself one more time. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is leave silently. Silence. It's not weakness. It's not avoidance. It's strength. It's choosing peace over chaos, dignity over drama, and self-respect over the need for validation. Think about it. When you engage in back-and-forth arguments, what are you really achieving? Most of the time, you're just feeding into their ego, giving them the satisfaction of knowing they've got a hold on you. But when you choose silence, you're sending a message that's louder than any words could ever be. You're not worth my energy anymore. Imagine this: you're in a room full of noise, people shouting over each other, trying to be heard, and then one person gets up and walks out. Suddenly, the room feels different. The absence of their presence speaks louder than the noise they left behind. That's the power of leaving silently. When someone disrespects you, when they undervalue you, or when they take you for granted, the instinct is to fight back, to prove your point, to make them see what they're losing. But here's the thing. They already know. They just don't care enough to change. And that's your cue to stop trying. Leaving silently isn't about ignoring your feelings or pretending the hurt doesn't exist. It's about prioritizing your peace over their chaos. It's about recognizing that some battles aren't worth fighting because the cost is too high. Your energy, your happiness, your self-worth. I know it's hard. Walking away without closure, without that final word, feels incomplete. But silence is its own kind of closure. It's the kind that comes from within, the kind that says, I'm done explaining. I'm done trying. I'm done giving my power away. And here's the beautiful part. When you leave silently, you shift the focus back to yourself. You're no longer caught up in their games, their manipulation, or their drama. You're free to heal, to grow, and to build a life that reflects your worth. Think of silence as a blank canvas. It's the space where you can paint a new picture, write a new story, and create a new chapter, one that's not defined by their negativity but by your strength and resilience. So, to anyone out there stuck in a cycle of back and forth, let this be your reminder. You don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing yourself. You don't need to justify your decision to walk away. Just leave, silently and confidently, knowing that your peace is worth more than their approval. And when you do, you'll realize something incredible. Your silence isn't just an ending, it's a beginning. A beginning of a life where you're no longer weighed down by their toxicity. A life where you can focus on your happiness, your growth, and your dreams. So the next time someone tries to pull you into their chaos, don't engage, don't argue, don't explain, just leave. Walk away with your head held high, knowing that your silence speaks volumes, because at the end of the day, the loudest message you can send is this: I value myself too much to stay where I'm not respected. No back and forth, just leave, and watch how your life transforms when you choose peace over everything else. Let me ask you something. Have you ever walked away from someone and left them wondering what went wrong? Not because you didn't care, but because they didn't? That's the kind of silence I want to talk about today. The silence that speaks louder than words. The silence that becomes their consequence. Here's the thing about disrespect. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's subtle, dismissive comments, broken promises, or the way they made you feel small in moments when you needed support. Other times it's blatant, cutting words, public humiliation, or actions that screamed, "You don't matter." And while you may have tolerated it for a while, hoping they'd change, something inside you eventually snapped. Not out of anger, but out of self-respect. You see, they never thought their disrespect would cost them your presence. They assumed you'd stay, that you'd keep forgiving, keep explaining, keep showing up. They underestimated your strength. But then, one day, you chose silence. Not the kind of silence that begs for attention, but the kind that says, I'm done. You stopped arguing, stopped explaining, stopped fighting for a connection that only you seemed to value. And that silence, it hit them harder than any words ever could. Because here's the truth, people don't expect silence. They expect reactions, anger, tears, maybe even an apology for things you didn't do. But when you give them nothing, when you simply walk away, it forces them to sit with their actions. It leaves them alone with the echoes of their own disrespect, with no one else to blame. Think about it like this. Your silence is a mirror. It reflects everything they tried to ignore, their mistakes, their selfishness, their inability to value someone who gave them so much. And that reflection? It's haunting. At first, they might brush it off, telling themselves they don't need you, but over time, your absence becomes undeniable. They start to notice the void, the lack of your support, your kindness, your presence. They realize too late that the person they disrespected was the same person who stood by them when no one else did. But here's the best part. Your silence isn't just their consequence, it's your liberation. By choosing silence, you're choosing peace. You're choosing to protect your energy, to focus on your growth, and to surround yourself with people who truly value you. You're no longer wasting time trying to prove your worth to someone who never saw it. And that's where the transformation happens. When you let go of the need to explain or justify, you create space for healing. You start to rebuild your confidence, your happiness, and your life on your terms. So, to anyone who's been disrespected and feels the urge to fight back, remember this. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say nothing at all. Let your silence be your closure. Let it be the statement that says, I know my worth, and I won't settle for less. Because here's the truth, they never knew disrespecting you would cost them your forever silence. They never imagined that their actions would push away someone so valuable, someone they'll miss more than they ever thought possible. But now, they know. And while they're left with regret, you're moving forward with strength, clarity, and a newfound sense of self. So let your silence be their lesson and your freedom. Walk away with your head held high, knowing that you deserve better. And as you step into this new chapter, remember, your silence isn't just an absence. It's a declaration of your worth. Embrace it, own it, and never look back. There was a time when you were right there, offering everything of value you had. You were gold, reliable, genuine, loving, and worth more than they could ever imagine. But they didn't see it. They took you for granted, walked away, or let you slip through their fingers. Maybe they thought they could do better or that they could find something easier. Maybe they believed there was something else out there that would satisfy them. Whatever the reason, they walked away from gold. Now, look at them. They're chasing dust. They're scrambling for something that doesn't compare to what they had with you. They're pursuing temporary pleasures, shallow distractions, and empty promises, while you, the gold they once rejected, are shining brighter than ever. It's not about revenge. It's not about gloating. It's about understanding your worth. You were never meant to chase after people who couldn't see your value. You were meant for more than that. And now, as you rise and evolve, they're stuck with their choices. They walked away from gold, thinking they could find something better. Now, as they chase after dust, they'll realize that what they had was priceless. And by the time they understand, it will be too late. You know your worth. And as you continue to grow, they'll be left to wonder why they ever let you go.